So in today's class, we are discussing about the most important concept of Unit 2, that is a priori algorithm. So let's first look into what is a priori principle, and next we'll be talking about an example about step-by-step representation of a priori algorithm. Okay, so the principle says that if an item set is frequent, then all of its subset must also be frequent. So as we are dealing with some association rules which talks about frequent item sets. So whenever you are given a transaction data set which has a number of transactions, you can apply a priori concept only for a transaction database. So we need to check if an item set is frequent, then all of its subsets must also be frequent. Then only we call it as a frequent item set. Okay. So conversely, if a subset is infrequent, then all of its supersets must be infrequent too. So if one subset is not frequent, then its superset also will not be a frequent one. That is the principle behind this a priori. Okay, so we'll be looking into that with the example about what is this statement talking about. Okay, so why are we actually talking about association rules? Because association rules are useful for making some decision, right? So as we have discussed while talking about market basket analysis, so we need to understand the customer behavior by looking into the products which they are taking frequently. It's also called as affinity analysis, right? So yeah, for example, if I take some four products like milk, cheese, bread, and eggs, the possible associations include, association means the combinations here, right? So milk can be compared with bread. This is one association rule here. That is, milk implies bread. What is the chance or what is the probability that if customer purchase milk, they also can purchase bread? That is how we generate one association rule. Next, if customers purchase bread, they also purchase milk. So bread implies milk. So here these two looks same, but when coming to association rule, both are different. Okay, so that is one combination. That is one-to-one combination. Next, if I can see here in the third step, if customers purchase milk and eggs, they can also purchase cheese and bread. That is one more combination which I can look into. And in last step, we can see if customers purchase milk, cheese, and eggs, they can also purchase bread. That is one more association rule which we can generate. Likewise, for all the four products, we can generate n number of association rules. So once association rules are generated, we need to identify which association rules are feasible and which are not feasible. For that reason only, we are calculating support and confidence metrics. Okay, so generating association rules is very important, and in that association rules, which rules can be taken for decision making can be done or can be understood using support and confidence measures. Okay, so to understand in detail about association rule generation, let's take an example of an item set. So here A, B, C are the three products. Now with these three products, I am generating association rules, something like this, right? That is A and B implies C is one association rule which you can do. A and C implies B, B and C implies A. So that's how we can form association rules, one to many or many to one. So if I take four products A, B, C, D, then the result of partition is something like this. A, B, C implies D, or AC implies BD. That is 2 to 2, 3 to 1, 1 to 3. This is how we are generating various association rules. And among all these association rules, I cannot 100% say that all these rules will be helpful for my decision making. Only the metrics or the rules which are satisfying the confidence threshold value, that can be selected as the best association rules. In the next further sessions or by end of today's class, I'll make you understand what is how to generate an association rule and how to select a proper association rule after forming some rules. Okay, yeah. Now let's look into the working methodology of a priori algorithm. So the reason behind learning this a priori algorithm is, in real world use cases, we'll be applying a priori algorithm for market basket analysis. So in general, in our regular life, so You can read the first statement here. Has it ever happened that you are out to buy something and you end up buying a lot more than you planned? So this happens generally with everyone. So for example, this is a summer, right? Now during this summer period, if I go for a supermarket store, the main intention why I am going for supermarket store is to buy some soaps and some vegetables for my home. But because this is summer, they want to improve their sales with respect to cool drinks or cold drinks. They will be applying some offers like if you're buying 1 liter of Thumbs Up, 500 ml is free. So obviously, even though my interest is not towards buying a cold drink, because of that offer, I may go ahead with that also. So the main intention of buying vegetables and soaps is now added with cool drinks also. This is what this phenomenon is called as impulsive buying, and all the retailers take advantage of machine learning and a priori algorithm to make sure that we tend to buy more. So in which products can we buy, or can I get more profit? That's how retailers will think of. Okay, so for this concept we will be applying a priori algorithm. Okay, so how a priori algorithm actually works. So it uses frequent item sets to generate association rules. It is based on the concept that a subset of a frequent item set must also be a frequent item set. That's what we have learned in the a priori principle. The second point is nothing but the same as your a priori principle. Okay, so yeah, a frequent item set is an item set whose support value is greater than threshold value. The same what we discussed regarding what is a frequent item set. Okay, yeah. So let's get into the procedure or the step-by-step procedure of a priori algorithm. So as I said in the previous session, support and confidence measures or metrics are very, very important for association rules with respect to a priori and FP growth algorithm also. So apart from support and confidence, we also have one more important measure called as lift. Okay. So look at the step one here. If you want to work with a priori algorithm, in step one, we need to identify or determine the support of item set. The first step is to identify what is the support value in the given database and select the minimum support and confidence. So always try to select a minimum support value. Don't take a higher value. It's always preferred to select a minimum support and confidence value. Okay. So most of the times in the examination or in the question paper, they'll be mentioning what is the support and confidence values. If they are not mentioning that, we can assume it by ourselves. Okay. So in step two, it's like take all supports in transaction with higher support value than the minimum, or that is very simple. So whichever the values which are meeting the condition, that is support should always be greater than or equal to minimum support threshold value, those items will be kept over for the next transactions, and whichever items are not meeting the minimum support threshold value, those will be discarded. Okay, so we will look into that in the further examples, how to understand this concept. Okay, and step three talks about find all the rules of these subsets that have higher confidence value than threshold or minimum confidence. So if you want to select the best association rules, you need to depend on confidence. Support value is useful to generate frequent item set, and confidence value is used to generate or to identify the best association rule from the available association rules. And step four, this is not always preferred, but if you are going with lift measure also, then step four is also useful. Sort the rules as the decreasing order of lift values. So if you want to calculate lift value, again, you need to understand the support values properly. Okay, so these are the four steps which you need to learn properly and understand properly for effective application of this a priori algorithm. Okay, yeah. So this is the example what we can understand for a priori algorithm. So let's say we are having the following data of a small store. So we are having some 5 transactions. So here you can see items are labeled with some numbers: item 1, item 3, item 4. So in transaction 1, you are having 1, 3, 4. So you are having three items in transaction 1. In transaction 2, we are having 3 items. In transaction 3, we are having 4 items. In transaction 4, 2 items. Likewise, according to the given data set, you will be having many transactions and different items with some labels. Okay, so here 1 indicates one different item, 2 indicates another item. Likewise, we are having different item. So as I said, in the first step, you need to identify what is the support value. That is what step 1 is talking about. You need to identify what is the support value. And also we need to understand what is minimum support value. Okay. So in first step, you can see here the arrow mark is indicated to C1. Here C1 is nothing but a candidate key. So always remember, whenever you're calculating, whenever you're working with a priori algorithm, candidate key is the terminology which everybody of us need to remember. So candidate keys are nothing but whichever the values are having the support count value, they are considered as this candidate values. Okay. So finally, after step by step, you will be generating some different candidate key values. So this is the given data set. From this given data set, I am trying to calculate support value of each item set. So from the transactions, we are having different item sets. From then we are forming a table which is of 2 columns, that is item set and support. In first row, I am saying item 1, it is repeated and its value is given as 3 here, because the support value is 3, because you can see item 1 is available in transaction 1, in transaction 3 and transaction 5. So 3 times it is repeating. So support value is 3. Similarly, item set 2 here, you can see 2 is repeating how many times? 1, 2, 3 times. So again, support value is 3. Next, if I go for item set 3, item set 3 is repeated in again 1, 2, 3 and 4 times. You can see item 3 is available in 4 transactions. So support value is 4. And next, if I look into item number 4, it is available only in 1 transaction. So you can see it is being given as 1 here. And item 5 is again 4. So now, as we have assumed that the support value, minimum value is 2, that is the value which we are considering, because the question support value is not given. It's up to the user what is support value you are taking. You can take it as 2, you can take it as 3, you can take it as 4, but you need to check your database properly, and according to the values, you need to decide your support count. So for this sample data set, I am saying support value is 2, right? So from these candidate key values, if any value is less than 2, that item set need to be removed. So from this, we can say the 4th item set value is having only support value as 1, which is less than the minimum support value. So as per the condition, if it is greater than the minimum support value, then only it should be considered. Otherwise, it need to be discarded. So let's go to the next step. So from this candidate key 1, we are eliminating item set number 4 because its support value, that is 1, is less than 2. That is the minimum threshold value. So we are eliminating this value from the candidate key value. So next, we are forming a table that is called as F1 or L1. As per textbooks, it is called as L1 key. So in this example, we are taking it as F1, right? So this is the final table what we get after the one transaction or combination of one item set. Now we need to go for the next combinations. Like you can see here, that is, I am now looking into the probability from this F1 table. Now I am combining 1, 2, 1, 3 and 1, 5. So what is the chance that the person is buying item 1? What is the probability that he can also buy item 2? So likewise, if I look into the F1 table here, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 1, 2, here you can see 1, 2 is repeated only 1 time in the actual table. Next, 1, 3 is repeated 3 times. That is transaction 1, transaction 3 and transaction 5. Likewise, we need to calculate support values for each item set combination. So again, we need to check the support value, that is 2 value. So whichever the value support value is less than 2, that item set need to be discarded or removed. So here we are removing 1 comma 2 because 1 comma 2 is not meeting the criteria, that is minimum support value. So now we are getting an F2 table value. For next transactions, we need to look into this table only. Okay. So yeah, the reason should be mentioned clearly. Here you can see item sets having support less than 2 are eliminated again. In this case, 1 comma 2 is eliminated. Okay. Now the elimination process here is nothing but this is called as the pruning concept. So pruning is again a very, very important concept in a priori algorithm. So pruning is something like eliminating a value or a node which is not contributing to the our result. Okay, so because here 1 comma 2 is already this combination is not properly available, that is support value is not meeting. As per the a priori principle, we have very clearly understood that if an subset is infrequent, then all of its supersets must be infrequent too. That is what we'll be understanding here in pruning. So this is the beauty of this a priori algorithm. So here you can see from this table, we are having various combinations like 1, 2, 3 is one combination. Next 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 5. So why I am taking 1, 2, 3? So in this transaction, I am having 4 combinations. So already we are done till 2 combinations here. Next, I'll be going for 3 combinations. So if I go for 3 combinations, the combination are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5. I'm not taking 1, 2, 4 because 4 is already discarded in the first step only. So for the transaction which is having 4 items, that should not be considered. In the same manner, the transaction which is having 1 comma 2, that need to be pruned. So here you can see they are indicated in red color because these 2 values will be pruned for the next step. So finally, I can say when I go for 3 combinations, so I'll be getting frequent item set values as 1 comma 3 comma 5 and 2 comma 3 comma 5 because these 2 are meeting support value as 2. So if I go for 4 combinations, next 4 combinations, again support values, again it is only 1. So we will be stopping the algorithm here only, that is at F3 table, because if I proceed with the next combination, I'm not meeting the support criteria values. Now from here we can understand that these are the frequent item sets which we got after 3 iterations. Okay, so we will discard here 1 comma 2 comma 3 are discarded, and 1 comma 2 comma 5 are discarded. Finally, we are getting the values as 1 comma 3 comma 5 and 2 comma 3 comma 5 are the frequent item sets for this given data set. So this data set is a small one, but for higher data set, you may get some different combinations also. Okay, yeah, so this is how we need to understand the values of frequent item set using support values. But till now we have not calculated the confidence values. We are only talking about support and comparison of support values. The next step as per the algorithm is step 3, that is we need to find the rules using the confidence values, right? So now let's look into the confidence values, how to generate some rules using confidence values. As I already mentioned, support and confidence values need to be assumed. So we will create some values. For example, I'm assuming the minimum confidence value is 60%. That is, if a value or the result is greater than 60%, then only the rule will be accepted. If it is less than 60%, then definitely that rule will not be accepted. So to calculate confidence values, we need to get back to that formula. The formula is confidence is equal to support of A union B divided by support of A, right? For example, here you can see as we have taken the final item set values are 1 comma 3 comma 5 and 2 comma 3 comma 5. We will be calculating confidence for these 2 item sets only because those are the frequent item set. For those frequent item sets only, we will be calculating this uh, confidence values with different combinations. So the first combination is 1 comma 3 comma 5. That is rule 1. It is saying that if I take combination of 1 comma 3, which is taken from the superset, that is 1 comma 3 comma 5. So you can see S implies I to S. So I is a superset and S is a subset. So 1 comma 3 is subset of 1 comma 3 comma 5, which means 1 and 3 implies 5. So now I'm calculating the confidence values using the formula. Confidence is equal to support of 1 comma 3 comma 5, because that is the A union B. So A union B is the complete values. So I'm saying that support of 1 comma 3 comma 5 divided by support of A. A here is the 1 comma 3, right? So support of 1 comma 3 comma 5 is how much? This is the value. Support of 1 comma 3 comma 5 is equal to 2. That is the value which we need to consider here, right? That's why it's taken as 2. Support of 1 comma 3, what is the value? Yeah, let's look into that. Support of 1 comma 3 is equal to 3. So that's the reason, that's how we get the value of 2 by 3, which is 66.66, which is greater than 60%. So because it is meeting the confidence threshold value, that's 60%, this rule is selected. Likewise, I'll go for next combination, that is rule 2. So here I have taken a combination of 1 comma 3. Next I'll go for 1 comma 5 in this combination. For 1 comma 5, again I am getting a value which is again greater than 60%, that is 100%. So I'm getting the value as 100%. So this value is accepted. Next, for rule 3, that is 3 comma 5 is the next combination. That's how for different rules I am getting this value is selected. And now here you can see for rule number 5 and rule number 6. So here if I take individual values of 3 and 5, I am getting the confidence value less than 60%. That is only 50% is available. So if this value is not meeting the condition, so these two rules are rejected. Only the first 4 rules will be considered for this combination, that is 1 comma 3 comma 5. Likewise, for next frequent item set, that is 2 comma 3 comma 5, you need to generate the association rules. This is how we will be finding the frequent item sets and also the best association rules using a priori algorithm. Okay. So I think everybody is clear till now. So that this is the example, second example, what we can look into. So as I already shared, as I told, I have shared the document in your Google Classroom. You need to look into a Google Classroom for this example procedure. So again, the same procedure here, you are having items like I1, I2, I3, I4, I5, but you're having many transactions here. So however, you need to calculate support value of item 1, support value of item 2, item 5, item 3, item 4. Likewise, how many items you are having? For these items, you need to calculate support value. And here the rule is given like minimum support value is 2 and confidence 60%. So because this condition is given, we need to follow this condition, and accordingly you need to formulate or generate frequent item sets and also association rules. So these questions I'll be giving for assignment in the next whenever I give the assignment. Okay, this is one more example for different transaction data set. So likewise, in examination point of view, you will be getting questions of this manner only. So this can be considered as the question for examination for 5 marks. Consider the following data set and we will find frequent item sets and generate association rules for them. So you'll be given this transaction table and these conditions will be given, and you need to solve the problems step by step. And finally, the item sets or frequent item set values will be the output. This is one example. This is one more example. You can see example 4. This is how you need to represent your table. So here you are giving this table as initial one, and from this you're getting the output as B, C is the frequent item set. Okay. So here you are having, they are saying it as scan or iteration. You can call it anything. So you're having 3 iterations for generating your frequent item set. So this is how you're generating frequent item set, and upon generation of frequent item set, the next step is you need to calculate the confidence values of all these values, and you need to generate the association rules also. Okay. So talking about the limitations of a priori algorithm. So as I said, a priori algorithm is not considered as the best among all those three, because if you are having higher transactions or many big huge data set, a priori algorithm need to scan each time for generation of candidate key. That is a very big problem of a priori. That's the reason FP growth is considered as the better approach, because it goes for tree based generation. So a priori algorithm can be slow. The main limitation is time required to hold a vast number of candidate sets, which must with much frequent item set. So low, if they are taking the support value as low, you need to scan your database a number of times. So here for these 4 transactions, you are scanning your database 3 times. If you are having some 110 transactions, you will be scanning your database approximately more than 90 times. So if your data set is increasing, the number of scans will be more. That's the reason a priori algorithm has a limitation. So we go for the next concept called as FP growth. Okay. So this is what you need to understand with respect to your a priori algorithm. So hope I have made all my points clear. So yeah, to conclude this, a priori will be very low and inefficient when memory capacity is limited and with large number of transactions. So if your transactions are more and if you are having high data set, you need to go for FP growth algorithm than for your a priori. That is the major limitation of this a priori algorithm. Okay.